Barry Bryson here. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. We're continuing our study of the suffering servant passage in Isaiah, and we're in chapter 45, and we are going to be looking at verses 18 and 19 today. From the end of chapter 44, God has been speaking directly about the return, the restoration, after the decree of Cyrus, and describing Cyrus in terms that he would use to describe, has used to describe the Messiah, and will continue to describe the Messiah, calling him the Anointed One, calling him the Shepherd, saying, "I made your path straight." The way he said that, the way he talked about the Messiah there in at the beginning in chapter 40. Cyrus is not the Messiah. Cyrus is a servant, an anointed one of God. When we mentioned that chapter 45, verse 1, "You are my anointed," I failed to remind you. I just, I forget because it just never occurs to me to mention it because it's just the same thing. What is the word, the Hebrew word for anointed? Mashiach. Mashiach is the anointed one, Messiah. My anointed one means my Messiah. It could just as easily been translated my Messiah in 45:1. But Cyrus is not the Messiah. Cyrus is an anointed one who will do God's bidding and bring about this necessary historical rescue of his people and restoration of them back to Jerusalem to rebuild the temple so they can be there to receive the Messiah later on. Last time we were together, the idolaters had made this accusation against God. They had said, "You are a God who hides himself, O God of Israel's Savior." He is called a Savior, but you are a God who hides himself. But God is going to reply to that today, in verses 18 and 19. "Thus says Yahweh, who created the heavens. He is the God who formed the earth and made it and established it, and did not create it a waste place, but formed it to be inhabited. I am Yahweh. There is no one else. I have not spoken in secret in some dark land. I did not say to the offspring of Jacob, 'Seek me in a waste place.' I, Yahweh, speak righteousness, declaring things that are upright." God speaks, and in a myriad of ways, and that's what he's saying here. And of course, David in Psalm 19, Paul in Romans chapter 1 point out that God speaks through creation itself, and God's saying it here. I have hidden nothing. Look at the universe around you. That talks about me. I made this, and I made this for you. I made it to be inhabited, and I made it a garden. I didn't make it a waste place. So every time you look at anything in this universe, you can see that I am God and that I am good and that I care about you. Every rock, every tree, every flower, every star, every cloud shouts that message. But I've also spoken with my words, spoken word, written word to my people. So I am not a God who is hiding himself. I am a God who has spoken these things plainly. I speak righteousness and declare the things that are upright. God himself determines what is good and what is bad. Things are bad that are not God or like God or part of God's will. Things are good and righteous that are from God, that are like God, that are part of God's will. It's that simple. That's how simple things are. We don't have to decode anything to get this. It's just there. It's just that plain. God has made it that plain. And so God has taken this accusation that he's been esoteric quite seriously. I'm not that kind of Savior at all, and you know it. Have you opened your eyes to see anything in the universe? In verse 20, which we'll look at next time, God is going to gather together everyone who wants to be saved and call them to himself. And so we're going to look at that. And then we're going to enter a second section. And this section backtracks a bit because the person who's going to destroy Babylon is Cyrus. And we've already talked about Cyrus. So now he's going to talk about Babylon. But before we get there, we've got this call to be saved in verses 20 through 25. We'll pick up there next time. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word.